All right. We should be live and ready to go. Hi, everybody. I want to thank all of you for tuning in with us today. And of course, I want to say a big, big thank you to all of the amazing panelists who are joining us today and giving us their time and energy for the next hour or so. We are really, really excited to have these folks with us and to dive right into this conversation. So I promise not to take up too much of your time. But I do want to make sure that I say that today's panel is part of our Virtually INGenious online festival, which is all taking place over Facebook Live. And we have a whole lot more amazing content that's going to continue to stream all the way until 11:59-ish tonight. Over on that Virtually INGenious event page, which is tagged up in the description of this video. So we do hope that you will go and check that out. We hope that you've already been in there and have seen all of the amazing things that have happened until this point. It's a really exciting, very energetic weekend. So we hope that you have taken part in it. If you would like to take part in this conversation, this Zoom panel, there is a link in the description of the video that you can click and you will be added as an attendee of this Zoom webinar. You can go ahead and chat questions to our panelists or just add your voice to the conversation. So that is a great option for getting involved as well. Today's panel is hosted by Ingenuity Cleveland and by Made Cleveland. If you don't know Made Cleveland, you absolutely should. It is a hyper-local online co-op fostering community and entrepreneurship. And we are just really excited to get to work with them. So with that, I am going to let Ash O'Connor, who is the founder of Made Cleveland, tell you even more about herself and her company. So over to you, Ash.
Thank you so much, Hannah and Ingenuity for partnering with us on this endeavor. I'm Ash O'Connor, founder of Made Cleveland. And like Hannah said, for those of you unfamiliar, I would say that surface level, we are essentially an online marketplace featuring local artists, but at our core, we are an e-community focusing on emboldening entrepreneurship. While we're featuring makers and fine artists at the moment, we're really excited to bring musicians, authors, and filmmakers into the fold in the new year. We also will be launching a podcast called Artists Can't Do Small Talk, which pairs very well with this series of conversations that we'll be launching in the new year as well. Yeah, I'm just very excited to partner with Ingenuity on this series that we're calling Everyone at the Table, where we focus on promoting inclusion and equity in the arts and creative and maker landscapes. And I'm going to pass the baton over to Myra to get the conversation rolling.
Well, hello, everybody. I am so grateful to be here. My name is Myra Rosario, entrepreneur, visionary artist with Latino Cleveland, here representing the Hispanic community. I'm so grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be here with fellow artists, and the conversation today is with all of us is like, different types of art. So today I have the honor of introducing everybody to Jarryd Huntley. Jarryd, did I say your name correctly?
Yep, absolutely.
Wonderful. So Jarryd, so you are a game designer, and which I think is so interesting because I'd love to hear your perspective on what is it about game designing. Do you consider yourself an artist? And if so, like, can you share with us and our audience, what is it about game designing that would make you an artist?
Yeah, so game design, I mean, is art, full stop. Yeah. And I think one of the cool things about game design as an art is it's different kinds of art. And, it's visual art, just like painting or filmmaking. It's interactive art. Just like, a stage play. Stage play, you have the actors on stage and you have the audience, and there's give and take through the performance. And game design is a bit, I like to think of it a little bit like a stage play where there's give and take between, the game designer and the player. There's audio, so there's music,
Yeah.
there's dynamic music, and it's just kind of all these things combined in, this package that's a game.
Yeah. And
And
the interesting with games, there's like no limit to how many dimensions you can go with it versus like when you put it just on canvas. So that's really
exactly.
interesting. Yeah.
And games have the ability to change over time. So there's a lot of really different, interesting aspects of games being art.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, so from a local perspective, you have a network of gamers. Will you share with us what it's called and what you guys do?
Yeah, so I help organize a group called the Cleveland Game Developers. It's an open group, open to anyone. We have professional members to people who've never made a game, just and anyone in between. It's writers, artists, game designers, programmers, musicians, just anyone who's interested in learning about games, learning how to make games, and kind of honing their craft. And
Right.
um, oh, go
So
ahead.
I do want to, I would love to ask you because I mean, being a person of color, a man of color, is the gaming industry, how is it proportioned in regards to the black and white? And are there challenges for you as a black man in this industry that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, so that's a big conversation that's been happening, um, in line with all the Black Lives Matter movement this year, and a lot of the things that have been coming up in the news. The latest statistics, I believe, between 1% and 2% of the game industry is black. So it's a
Wow.
very small slice of game designers are black, but there's organizations that are working to help change that. So there's an organization called Black in Gaming, and
Mm,
they I think the initiative's called 25 or 5% and 25, where they want to increase the number of black game developers to 5% of the industry by 2025.
mm.
Just last weekend was the Game Developers of Color Expo in New York. Or it's normally hosted in New York. This year it was online, like most of our conferences. And that's an amazing conference that I've had the opportunity to work with in the past, where it's focused on creators of color from all over
Mm.
the world. And so you might have people from South Africa or Singapore, just these
That's
different
cool.
creators of color that are sharing their experience through games. And then also there's panels that they have, to talk about the problems that we face as creators of color, and how we can work together and work past, those issues.
Well, it's wonderful to have you here in Cleveland as being a part of that. So, so I think I'm kicking it over to you for to meet with Stina.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jarryd.
Yeah. No, it was great chatting.
I'm grateful to like learn that gaming is a form of art. Like that was very inspiring to me. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'd like to ask Stina some questions. So, Stina, you're tremendously successful in building a virtual network through social media, through your art. How have you achieved this, and what has it meant to you?
Well, hi guys, I'm Stina and I'm a fine artist. But Jarryd, thank you for asking me that question. But I think like with social media, I guess I became more authentic than most content is usually put out on social media. And in a world where social media is very, I would say, superficial or trying to create a life that's not real, I had to remain true to myself because I knew that eventually, if I was creating a persona that wasn't me and wasn't normal, that I'd run out of content and I'd run out of being that person. And the best way for me to grow my social media was to have content, be consistent. And the only way you can do that is by being true to yourself. So in a world of being superficial and kind of hiding your losses and hiding the low points, I became someone in the art industry who just shared everything. I didn't care. It might have been a bad day. It could have been a bad show. It could have been whatever it was. I just wanted to be not only just show my work, but be someone that artists could relate to and say, hey, you know what? she went through all this and she shared it with us, but she made it through, and so I can too. And so it helped me kind of just become just this person that artists could go to for inspiration while I was able to create my work and things. So being able to grow a social media platform, what it means to me, it's beautiful, because I feel like I have this like huge network of not supporters or people that are customers, but I really feel connected to the people who follow me, because another thing that I try and do is be as responsive as I can be as helpful as I can be. So when my DMs are open, I'm answering questions, and so I don't feel like I'm this social media personnel. I feel like I have just a very strong core of people who just really are rooting for me, and I'm rooting for them. So it means a lot. I'm glad that I went that route, because I don't have to fix anything.
Yeah, and to me, it sounds like you have some like a feedback loop. So like, you know, the more authentic you are, the more connected with people, and it seems like there's a response to that, which is awesome.
Absolutely. Yes.
So you're a fine artist creating amazing work. How would you describe your genre, and you know, how does that relate to promoting through the traditional gallery scene, especially as an artist of color?
So it's funny because a lot of people might not realize this, but I consider myself a baby in the art world. I didn't start painting until 2015. And unlike most, because I'm self-taught, I don't have like the traditional training. What I notice between, you know, artists who are self-taught is we don't mimic the past.
Mm,
We're not mimicking old styles, so we typically end up experimenting and creating our own genre. So I actually don't think that I fit in a box, and I also still feel like I'm exploring what that is. But what I do know is that it's very different, that my work is innovative, and I think that's kind of what's also set me apart, is that you can't trace it back to, oh, this reminds me of, you know, the traditionalists, or this reminds me of, I just don't really fit into that. um However, that can pose an issue when it comes to galleries, because I would say that, and if I can be as authentic and open and honest about this question, this answer, as possible, um when you think about having a traditional like training when it comes to art, that's typically not Black women artists. That's typically not artists of color. And so if we're not having traditional training, we're all in this area where we're creating our own genre, and it's not often recognized in the gallery format. So sometimes you'll see a very disproportionate representation, because we don't fit into those molds. And so what I think and what I'd hope is that galleries are more open to being innovative too, and pioneering a new genre, or just being open to experiencing other art forms when it comes to that. And so for me as a Black woman artist, I actually, believe it or not, as successful as my career has not been represented by a gallery. I usually am putting on shows, or offered shows that are completely of my own, because I don't fit within the mold of what is already displayed in those galleries. It hasn't affected me negatively at this point. However, I know that it's affecting my peers. So I would like to see that change. You know, I would like to see more openness to just this new way of thinking, this new way of creating, and just a whole new world of art, because we don't need to stay in the past.
thank you so much for sharing that. That was incredibly insightful, and you know, sharing your story and your experience.
Thank you. Thank you for asking me those questions. I actually am going to go back to Myra for a second. I know she gave us this awesome introduction, and I love your bubbly personality. I just got to meet you, and I'm feeling the energy, and I just have a few questions. So I know that you got your start in the music, entertainment, and food, like, you know, that type of industry. So what is your experience as a Puerto Rican woman, and how have you been able to stay authentic and stay connected to your identity?
Well, thank you, first of all, for talking about my personality. Well, I mean, well, first of all, it brings me so much joy to have this space to even consider myself an artist, because I've been an entrepreneur since 2007. I first started in the radio industry with
Myra, we're going to stop you for just a second. It's hard to hear you.
Oh, no. Can you hear me now?
No, it's a little low.
Oh, no. I don't know why, guys. My mute is on, you know, because it's Zoom. Hold on. Can you hear me? I do have, what do I do? I don't, let me. Can I talk really loud and it helps?
That works.
Okay, I'll talk loud. I'm Latina, I can talk loud. It says my mic is on, but I don't want to take our time. And if you can hear me, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I was sharing is that my background started in radio in 2007 as, you know, a receptionist and then a salesperson. So my background started in urban and African American marketing and advertising. And so then in 2007, I saw that there was a need within the Latino community to have media, because in 2007, we still didn't have Spanish radio. We didn't have Spanish television. So I started latinocleveland.com. And in 2010, I presented the concept of having an online media outlet for Latinos, and I won a grant, and that started my journey of entrepreneurship. Now, when you start entrepreneurship and you put on a suit, you know, you kind of are all business, but when you're really an artist inside, it's like putting yourself in a plastic bag. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, you know, in 2015, I was able to accomplish through my business habits to be on NBC on Channel 3. This was a little flyer. And in 2015, so, and it was just very stagnant television, in a box, talk for 3 minutes, you know, be in a box, be in a box, be in a box. And the show was Latino. So it was the dream of having a media outlet for the Latino community to highlight Hispanic businesses, entrepreneurs, and all of that. But inside of me, it was like nothing that screamed the creativity that really wanted to come out of me. And so 3 years ago, I was at Ingenuity, and I met Adele DeMarco of Innovate. And at Ingenuity, she had asked the question, like, what would you love? And, you know, and I was like, I've always had a vision of a puppet character in my heart, you know, and I kind of stepped out into bravery. And when I met Emily, we talked about, you know, this has offered me as a businesswoman creative space to go after my dreams of Romero, which I know that the Latino community needs a messenger, you know, of the challenges that we face.
So let's talk about Romero, because you tell stories about your culture and community using Romero, right? So what is, how does that look for you? Where do you use him? How has that changed? Just how is that for you? I'd love for you to go into that.
Yeah, so, okay, so what I found and I realized is that, you know, messengers can only go so far, right? And when you have a puppet character, and if he's very lifelike and lovable, you can talk about reality-based issues that a regular person can't really talk about, right? You know, because I have found as a Latina that, you know, I was raised in urban city, you know, the West 25th and Clark area. And then I was sent to an all white boarding school. So they took me out of poverty into something. So I felt that shift. And there's a lot of like hiding that you have to do, or not, don't be too smart. Like I can't be too smart in my Latino, like it was just a lot of hiding that I had to do.
Right.
And what I found was with this puppet character, I realized, I'm like, wow, you know, like Romero can talk about the things that newcomers face when they come into Cleveland. You know, like, you know, you can't get a job, your English is all broken, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, my cousin just got deported, and, you know, through, you know, this, I consider COVID a divine intervention, because it opened my vision as an artist, that, you know, Romero can talk about coronavirus and the mask, because adults and children are confused, because a puppet can talk to adults and children if the puppet is done and manipulated in the right way. So, you know, like you have Jim Henson's Kermit the Frog, you know, like he is a cross-generational, cross-culture character. And that's my vision for Romero, is that whites, blacks, everyone, because, you know, because it took me into thinking, well, how do you make a lifelike puppet? Well, what would it take? And it just took me down a journey. And like I said, you know, Romero can talk about Black Lives Matter, because guess what? He's a puppet that just wants to be treated like a person. And so for some reason, and I really learned, and I want to be careful how I say this, because Mr. Rogers, during the time of, like, you know, wars and things like that, he used puppetry to talk to adults and children. He used the puppets to talk about race and to talk about the wars that were happening. And now, you know, here, you know, we're in a society where we don't even let our kids create. I'm a mother of 7-year-old twin boys. That's why the puppetry kind of came back, because it felt right, you know, as a mom too. And then, you know, it's just, and you know, the beauty of this, guys, is just the creative team that goes behind creating any media product. Like, I'm just maybe the, you know, the visionary, but I'm not the puppeteer, I'm not the video person, the graphic designer. It takes a team. And so, you know, this project has really made me grow a deeper appreciation of, like, all the different types of arts. Like Jarryd, you know, like nobody thought puppetry was an art, and even me, you know, that's why I'm great for Ingenuity, for saying, you know what, no, you know what, Myra, you are an artist. And I'm like, wow, I am? You mean you can have a vision, just hold the vision, and that is enough to make you an artist? You know, so yeah. So yeah, I feel like, you know, puppets can talk about reality-based issues in a way that can be safe for adults and children.
Awesome. Thank you for diving into that. I am going to let you pass the mic on and introduce our next artist who just joined us.
Yes, Mr. Brandon, how are you? Is he mute?
Okay. Hello, everyone.
How you doing?
I'm great. Just came from North Carolina. I'm sorry I'm a little late, but I'm here.
Yes, you made it. That's all that matters. So tell us a little bit about your art and your personal journey. I know that you're an artist that was incarcerated for a while, and just, if you don't mind, just open it up and tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, well, my name is Brandon Graves. I got locked up and I did 7 years for selling drugs, you know. Something I'm not proud of, but, you know, it's what made me here I am today. So I was locked up. Here's how I started painting. So I was locked up, and I started writing a book, you know, about my life. I just wanted to come home to something. 'Cause I'm like, 7 years is like forever. I couldn't see, you know, past 2010. So here I am. I'm like 3 chapters in. I'm like, dang, I need a book cover. So drawing the book cover, not even really taking it serious, and it came out pretty good. And, you know, people looking over my shoulder every day and everything, and people started asking me to, like, draw tattoos for them, because in jail, you know, it's so much creativity in there. You know, people make tattoo guns out of CD player. Like, they'll open up the disc player, and make, like, put pieces together and everything. So anyway, I'm doing that for a while. Then this guy, he was a great artist, locked up, and he gave me my first canvas and my first paintbrush, and just told me to just give it a shot. it's like 2010, and that's all I've been really doing is painting. It kind of consumed my life. It changed my life in prison. It kind of made me feel a sense of freedom, really, because I don't know. It just took me out of prison every time I touched the paintbrush. So I just paint all day, every day. Before you know it, I'm doing work for COs, the warden.
Oh,
I became
wow.
like way cool in there. I was like, go to house 5. Brandon's gonna get you a paint, for you and your girl and all this. So everybody go in the visiting rooms with all my work. So I kind of sailed through prison. It sounds strange, but that art thing just took over my life. So when I come home, I didn't really have any direction in art as far as like what my message is in art, because I don't know. I didn't see it because I started when I was in prison. It's kind of hard to imagine much in prison while you're looking at his gray walls. And I did a lot of reading, a lot of stuff like that. But when I came home, things kind of opened up for me like so much. And I really got to see what I could do with art.
That
So,
is really inspiring, Brandon. I mean, so
thank you.
who would you say is like your audience, and like how does your art impact them? Can you share with us like a little bit about that?
I feel like my audience had become, I guess, the community, because
Mm.
the stuff I do is outside and it's pretty much for everyone to look at. You can look at my art and I hope it inspires you, you know, especially the children.
I love that. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, so how I got hooked up with doing art like that, in Seventh Ward, I had got connected with the councilman Bashir Jones, and he just was like, he's very art, he loves art, he's very artistic. He's like, man, I want you to, he just had a vision and we just went with it. We got this, we ended up doing a 6 mural project with the Cleveland Foundation in
Nice.
Midtown. And it went pretty good. I have one more mural to hang up, and after that, things just spiraled. Just kind of took off. Really, it led to me being in my own studio. I honestly, I didn't think I didn't think art would take me as far as it's taken me so far, because I just did 7 years, and here I am. I'm sitting in my studio right now, so I just got it's not open nothing, but here I am.
That's inspiring. I love that.
Thank you.
Awesome. So did we cover all our artists? Emily, I can't hear you.
How about now? So we did cover everybody, and I just want to say thank you guys so much for sharing such different, beautiful personal stories. I'm wondering if we want to take a few minutes, you guys, to open it up a little bit more broad, and for introducing each other so beautifully. It was lovely to have you guys in conversation. Should we open it up more broadly to a couple questions about, a great one to start with is what do you know now that you wish you knew then? Whenever then was, at some period of your life in your journey of becoming and realizing, damn, I am an artist and my vision is important. Either sort of personally, what do you wish you knew earlier? And then I think maybe we'll return and kind of talk about professionally in terms of resources and business training and things that might have helped you along the way. But let's start just from a personal level, like that moment of realizing you are an artist and what you wish you had known a little sooner. And I can pick on someone.
I mean, I can go. I actually had a slightly untraditional way of getting into art also. So I am not an artist who was like drawing since 4 or 5 or whatever. I actually was an athlete. I was in track and field, and that's kind of what our family did, and that's what we're known for still. So I was on this track. I was supposed to, be a phenomenal athlete, get your full scholarship to college. That's just the path that we were on. But my junior year of high school, I broke my femur. I broke my femur long jumping, and I had to have emergency surgery. They put a rod in my leg. And if anyone knows anything about like recruiting and going to college, junior year is the year that you're looked at by colleges, and you're gonna get signed and all this stuff. So it was early at the beginning of my track season, and I was devastated because that's the year they can actually talk to me. So my season was over, and when you're 16, 17, your world is wrapped around whatever it is that you're doing at that time. So that was my identity. I was the track girl, you know. And so it was snatched from me, because when you break your femur, you don't know if you're gonna you don't know the future. I was told I was supposed to be on crutches for 6 months, so that would have took out my senior year also, which then meant I wouldn't go to college. So I was devastated and I was depressed. I had to go to school anyway, although I would have liked to sit at home and mope. So the counselors and principal and my parents decided that they would sit me in the art class. And it was the most accessible room at the time. So that's how I was introduced to creating using my hands. It wasn't even painting, it wasn't drawing, it was literally like the worst sculptures I could have probably ever created in my life. They were but what I learned then was the power that creating had to not only heal, but like while I'm healing myself physically, I had fell into this depression because I wasn't an athlete anymore. And so I learned how it felt to really use art to heal your mind and heal your heart. And from there, I started creating this new identity, and I fell in love with just the process of creating something out of nothing. Again, I was horrible, but it didn't matter. So it's hard to say that I wish I would have known sooner, because there's a lot of lessons that came from me from even breaking my leg, which is why I have a lot of humility now, because I can't say the same back then. But I can't say that I would have it any different. But I do think that from the moment that I discovered creating art was that beautiful for me in my life, that I remained consistent through now. That's something that I did not do. I was in and out of art for the next 10 years or so. And it wasn't until 2016 that I said, you know what, why am I running from this when my life keeps putting it back in my lap? And so yeah, I think maybe that would be the only thing, is like being more consistent sooner, and trying to master my craft way sooner than 5 years ago. But yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll jump in on that one as well too. Because also kind of like Stina, in late high school, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and you can see there's a bass guitar back there. I'm also a musician, and I was playing music, and I was like, oh, just kind of do music. And at some point, I was preparing to audition at some schools, some colleges, and I came home with a stack of computer books, and I was like, I just kind of want to dive into these. And I'm like, what am, I am forcing myself to do these auditions. I can still do music. I still love music, but I don't have to do that. I'm like, I guess maybe I'm more analytical. I'm going to go the computer route. And so, I didn't even know what computer science was. I looked on, a website, and it was like, what do you study when, you want to study computers? I found computer science, and I went into IT from there, and I worked in IT for a number of years. But after a while, I was starting to kind of feel, a little bit, jittery, just like, it wasn't quite a fit. And at that point, I kind of realized, early on, I was like, oh, I'm creative. I want to do the music. And then I was like, no, maybe I'm analytical. I want to do, something, technical, but it's really in the middle for me. And, society, has this tendency to put people in, you're either creative or you're analytical, and it's not like that. It's a spectrum. And I was kind of jumping from one extreme to the other extreme, and I needed to find something more in the middle. And that's kind of where I started looking into game design more seriously. I'd played games my whole life, but I was like, well, how do you make them? And like I was talking about earlier, it's analytical, it's creative, it's collaborative, it's kind of a little bit of everything. And as far as wishing I knew earlier, it's like you don't have to pick one or the other. You can do whatever you want. You can kind of forge your own path and whatever feels most comfortable to you.
Wow. Can I share to answer your, Emily, like one of the things that you were saying about, the things that we've grown and learned now, since, I was granted with ingenuity, basically just kind of saying, you know what, move forward with your dreams and believe in it. One of the new things that I learned, and, I'm a 44-year-old woman, so I've been an entrepreneur for 24 years. And so learning things is always good. But something that I learned in this artist project is that purpose-driven projects just accelerate so fast. Because I was asked a question, why is Romero important? And digging, right? And then when I came to a very simple purpose answer, which is mothers and children will love and laugh with Romero. And when we go and visit a favorite hotspot, and then when I started to feel like mothers and children laughing during COVID, and even though he might talk a little bit about a mask, or he does a little prank and he talks about this. And so when I got to feel that burning desire, because I sell advertising, how much burning desire am I getting, selling advertising? To your point, Jarryd, that there's an artist in you that wants to emerge, and so Romero and that purpose-driven project, I've never felt anything like this before. And so then all the divine appointments have come, the divine team is coming. And I know it's because of the purpose. So that is my new revelation that I just want to share.
And I saw Brandon nodding. You're muted.
Muted? Can you hear me now? Okay, so when I first came home, I didn't really take art as serious. I jumped right on the wagon with my boy. He was he was rehabbing homes. So I'm doing that, and I'm happy to be out. I'm just doing that just to get by and everything. And I just felt incomplete. I kind of set art down because I didn't feel it could make me a way of living, because we got bills out here, So I'm working with him and everything, and I just felt disconnected. And then one day, I'm always getting into it with everybody at the job, or I don't know, it was just hard to work at that place. So one day I just quit. I'm like, you know what? This is what I'm gonna do. And I was 2 years out, just 2018. And the minute I made that decision to take it serious, that's when my life turned back around to when I was in prison, where I felt free again. I actually put myself mentally back in jail when I came home because I was afraid of everything. You know what I'm saying? I'm so behind. I'm 7 years behind. I'm 35 years old. You know what I mean? With nothing. So when I took it serious, things just took off, So I guess I could say that I wish I would have took art serious fresh out the gate.
Wow. That's awesome.
Where would I be now?
So as far as making sure people are taking themselves seriously and have permission to truly embody what you guys all, connected with inside yourselves, societally, what resources should there be? What have you found that you wish you had found sooner in terms of, business development, professional development, and specifically with an eye towards, equity and being more conscious and more proactive? What can arts organizations do? What should promoters be thinking about? What are some of the things that you guys have seen that are working and what's not working?
From the game design, game development, I guess community and, at large is on Twitter. A lot of us are on Twitter. We, chat, interact, collaborate, we find, people to work on projects and whatnot. And, once I and there's bad parts about Twitter. It's doom scrolling and whatnot. But the positive aspects of connecting with people, and being able to find somebody in a different community, a different city, a different country that's facing the same challenges as you, and what solutions worked for them. What can you kind of interchange? That was something that was really helpful for me in my career. And then also bringing those ideas back home to the Cleveland game developers. So what can we do to help encourage people to get into game design? So once a year we do these events called game jams, which is a 48-hour collaborative event where a theme is announced on Friday night. If you can show up with no experience, you kind of get together and just work on games. And watching people who, maybe 4 years ago, they walked through the doors not knowing anything about game design. And, now they're, working on their own games independently. So just, letting people know that, there's no ceiling. You can start wherever you want, you can take it wherever you want, I think is really important for, you know, inspiring people, and especially, looking at kind of the next generations.
I would have to agree with him. Connections, I feel like made me, get, in tune with the community. I don't think that I would be as known, my art wouldn't be hanging up anywhere like that if it wasn't for me connecting with the councilman, for an example, or say I do a good job in a business establishment and I get referred, it's just I connections. Really, you can't do anything without connection. You need people, you really can't do nothing on your own out here in this world. It's like, I mean, you could do it on your own, but you still got to go to the bank and talk to the bank teller to get things done. You just, you need people for things to make things happen for you. So yeah.
I think when I started, I made a lot of mistakes when it came to understanding that I can be a creative, but also be a business artist. And one of the things that I was fortunate enough to have is a business corporate background before I even really knew that I was good at art. So I was able and to backtrack on my story, I did end up going to college. I went to Purdue University and I studied psychology. So I had that background plus business before I knew how to be a creative. Whereas sometimes I see a lot of us creatives struggle with the business side, turning off the I want to create and going into business mode. And so I told myself early on, after all the mistakes that I made, that I wanted to be the mentor in the industry that I didn't get, So I took all of my mistakes and all the learnings that I did and kind of put it into something that could help other artists. And so in 2017, I self-published a book called Entrepreneur, Making Your Dream a Business, to put in all the operations and all the things that we skip in the beginning steps of becoming a creative and what we need to do to kind of streamline being successful. And as from what I see, Emily, you asked about resources and things like that, I just think it would be beautiful to see more seasoned artists who have successful careers understand that it's collaboration over competition, that it's better to be that mentor. It's okay to share your help. What's for you is for you. And so no one can take it from you, but being helpful is so much more important for our industry, especially since we're being very specific about artists of color, especially for artists of color, because sometimes we aren't afforded to be with an art consultant who charges $2,000 a year, or we don't have those resources. So I know my mission is to be a mentor that I wish I had in the beginning. And so I think based on resources like that. Emily, I think that would be great for just more artists to do the same, because it's one thing to pick up a book about business, but it's another thing to pick up a book about the art business. It's very different. And being able to see how that functions and see someone actually using it on a regular basis and how it's helping and how it's bringing forth results. I think that's really important, and I don't think there is enough of it. I see we try. I see some people try, but yes, I think there needs to be more mentors, willingness, more collaboration, more networking. That's just not fear-based, I guess I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more with you, Stina. I mean, I would say also, like, to add, you know, for the funding piece of it for artists are important, because for me, the being able to pilot a concept without, you know, like using my own finances and my resources on, like, is this, like, for me personally, is this puppet character supposed to really happen? You know, being able to have a grant allows you to have the financial freedom that we know financial freedom gives us the ability to be more creative, you know? So being able to have a little financial relief to be creative is something, yeah.
I just want to say, you guys, thank you so much for sharing such inspiring, moving, personal stories and practical advice. This is the first of many conversations. This is certainly not the end. All together have so much more work to do to make those resources available, to create some of the mentorship and that you guys are talking about. We are going to link to everybody's work here. Hopefully can share a little bit more about Stina's book, as well as all of the amazing work that Myra is doing that's coming down the pike, Brandon, Jarryd, and certainly Ash, you know, has a number of initiatives through Made Cleveland that will continue to address this, both partnership that Ingenuity is exploring and work that she's doing on her own. So on behalf of Ingenuity, I just want to thank everybody. A couple minutes till 3, and I would say, you know, Ash, if you would like to throw in any final closing words as far as Made Cleveland, and to the rest of the panelists here, we absolutely hope you'll join. And if you'd like to leave our audience a part as well, feel free to jump in, but we're just about there, and can't wait to sit down with you all again real soon.
Yeah, thank you all so much. I just wanted to second Emily's sentiments for sharing all of your experiences, your stories. I've gotten to learn a little bit more about the work that each of you are doing. Myra, I just had an opportunity to meet you today, but I love Romero, and I'm really excited to learn more about him. Yeah, this is such an amazing panel, and I am very excited to continue to work together. So thank you all so much. I truly appreciate it. It's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. This was
It was
excellent.
nice to meet you guys.
I appreciate
Likewise.
it. Nice meeting all of y'all.
Bye.
Look forward to talking soon.